I'm delighted to be joined today by Holly Murdoch, who is General Manager at St George's Park. So as you can imagine, Holly is one busy lady at the moment. So Holly, thank you so much for being with us. Obviously, you now have the England national team on site there at St George's Park, and we're just hours away from the Euro 2020, albeit now rescheduled for 2021.
Absolutely.
Underway. So can you just tell us, what's the atmosphere like there, and what is the importance of the next few weeks?
Yeah, answering your first question on the atmosphere, it's wonderful. I think particularly given the challenging times we've all faced over the last 18 months. Our venue, like many venues across the country, has had restrictions placed on it and limitations of what we could and couldn't do. So for the team, my team, the operational team, it's amazing to be part of something so prestigious. It's a privilege to be part of it. The atmosphere is wonderful. I know we've spent the last 2 years building up to this, obviously with the postponement of the tournament last year. So there's a real buzz around the park, helped by the warm weather that we're all getting at the moment. The sun's shining, people are happy, but there's a real sense of excitement building around the site. On site we've got a purpose-built media centre, and there's lots of activity going on with social media interaction with the players on the Lions Den. So it's really exciting, and the players seem to be really enjoying it as well.
And obviously, St George's Park, this is what it was built for, being the England national squad's training centre. So can you perhaps tell us a bit about the preparation, the preparations that have been underway there, getting ready to accommodate them?
Yeah, of course. We are home for all of our England squads, from men's and women's seniors right through the age groups, the development teams. Our para teams also train at St George's Park. And obviously accommodating our national teams is what we do week in, week out, but not normally in a base camp. Environment, which is very different. It's extremely different. The players and coaching staff are now hopefully with us for a number of weeks. And obviously there's more pressure around, these large tournaments. So it has been a huge amount of planning, as I'm sure you can imagine. One thing that we're very clear on at St George's Park is everything we do, we try and facilitate things that will accommodate all of our different customer groups. So, although we've been preparing for the men's seniors base camp this summer, the women's seniors are in a tournament next summer, and we hope to accommodate them as well. So anything we're doing, any kind of changes to the facility, we try and take into consideration the wider impact for all the different squads. And specifically the changes that have happened. We've constantly reinvested in our facilities since opening. World class is sometimes a phrase that can be coined too frequently, but if we want to become a world leading training centre, then we need to have great facilities that are well maintained and well kept. And obviously technology in sports performance moves very swiftly. So over the last year or so, we've installed a new cryotherapy unit. We've just refurbished all of the physio areas ahead of base camp. And we've worked really closely with the men's seniors backroom staff on kind of what overlay they would require, to enable them to have the best possible training environment. Lots of high performance sport talks about marginal gains. We absolutely want it to be a very easy camp for them, that everything's there at their fingertips when they need it. But also on a kind of cultural and emotional level, it to feel welcoming. It's been highly talked about in the press that, Gareth wants the players to feel comfortable and at home. And that really is our priority in the way that we want to do things with all the staff as well. So making sure that, culturally we were ready for that as well.
And then, how vital is the role of St George's Park in supporting the success of the England's national teams?
It definitely has a huge role to play. But I suppose the one thing I would caveat that with is it's an amazing facility, absolutely. But bricks and mortar don't win tournaments. It's the people that you put into the building and how they operate together. So it's not the only thing, although I'd love to hang my hat on it, it's not the only thing that will drive success. It's a very small part of a much bigger performance animal. So I think it is very important, and I think it's given the England teams and the coach education department a physical home, and an environment where we can work closely together to develop our programmes and our performance strategies, which we weren't able to do before, prior to St George's Park being open, when I suppose things were a little bit more disparate with the teams using different facilities around the country.
And then, I suppose we have to talk about what's been going on for the last 18 months. So, how has the pandemic sort of impacted on the venue's key priorities?
It's a tough one, because our core purpose is to help, to support our teams to win tournaments, to support our coach education programme, to ensure we're producing the best English coaches to go on and help our players. So that will remain our priority, and actually the pandemic hasn't impacted that. That remains as our core purpose. But we are, a hybrid venue. We have a 228 bedroom Hilton hotel on site. We're very used to, prior to COVID, hosting large conference and events throughout the year when our teams aren't in situ. And obviously that has hugely impacted our business over the last 12 to 18 months. And I think probably will continue to affect, the last 18 months will change the way we behave as individuals, companies behave, and things that people do. So I think it's really taught us as a team, as a management team, to be very agile, and what my mantra that we've been kind of repeating to ourselves over the last 12 months is kind of control the controllables, because there's been so much that's been out of our control over the last 18 months. And also, we've been planning days ahead rather than months and years ahead, which we're very used to. So we've had to become agile and more reactive. So I think we've probably changed our approach to how we do things. And I actually think that the pandemic, in a good way, has probably bonded us, made us closer as a team. We've really upped our game in that respect.
And then what would you say, not necessarily perhaps just the last 18 months, but, from the creation of St George's Park to now, what have been the sort of key challenges up until this point? And then, moving forward, what are your objectives for the sort of short to longer term?
Yeah, I think, St George's Park was opened in 2012, so next year will be 10 years old. A lot has changed, in the last 9 years, nearly 10 years. The women's game has grown dramatically. When I first joined the FA, there was, very little activity around the women's game. Now we have, a much bigger department who look after that, dedicated resource for it. So, there's so much that has moved forward in the last 10 years, and we've had to change and adapt with that, and change the way that we as a facility can accommodate and support the visions, whether it is the men's game, the women's game, or our para teams, as I said before, or the coach education programme. And I suppose I see that will constantly evolve. When we opened St George's Park, I was acutely aware that there was no handbook. No one had opened a national football centre before. There was no, you must do this by this point. So we actually did have to, there was lots of trial and error over the first few years, and just constantly trying to seek out further improvements. And I think that will continue to move forward as the sport changes, as the women's game grows bigger and bigger, there'll be more focus around that. And, as the profile of football across the globe is continuing to kind of get bigger and bigger, the kind of rewards around success become bigger as well, and therefore the pressures on our squads do. And absolutely, we want to be here as a physical home to help support whatever those needs are. So I think it's adapting and flexing with the requirements of our core user groups.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time, Holly. I know we'll all be watching and hoping that the national team is there with you at St George's Park for a good few weeks. Yes, and,
us too.
All eyes will be focused on Wembley and the trialling, of course, of the new vaccine passport at the weekend.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time, and hopefully meet you in person soon.
That would be great. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.